meeting of the Sustainability Commission to order, and let's start with the pledge led by Lauren.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. It's probably going to be a sort of a short meeting today unless I start talking. Roll call. Lauren? Here. Jeff? Here. Vonda?
Here.
Ty?
Present.
Zach?
Present.
And myself. Lucas was unable to make it today, and apparently Tucker's unable to make it today, so.
I haven't heard from Devin.
Yeah, and didn't hear from, did I have her on the, I might have left her off the name, but she knows when it is. Everybody should know when it is by now, I guess, so. Old business, I was going to rely on Tucker to give us a little bit of an update on their thoughts and what's going on since that tree grant was vaporized. But I don't believe he's gonna be here now, so we'll have to get that update at the next meeting.
Does anyone have any updates in talking with Tucker about that? Or, I mean, we know,
We know it's gone.
yeah, so we had some money set aside already, right? But we
Yes.
lost
I
the,
think it was the first year of it was expended, or was
so it was $1 million and we only got
200.
200,000 or something like that? Is that about right?
1,000, yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to get, kind of that update from him and see if he's developed any alternate plans, although that would be incredible if we got some other opportunity.
There is another plan of action in the works, but I don't know the specifics. I just
Okay.
remember recently having a conversation with somebody, because I know there was an issue with some of the wording and how we
Mhm.
obtained our grant and
Yeah.
how it was contracted, so.
I think the ones that survived, yeah, were not contracted through the third party or something that,
Yeah, so I believe we're gonna kind of see how Michigan City and see if we can.
some others that were in a similar.
I don't know I don't know any more than that.
Yeah, okay. Well, that would be helpful if we could find a way to get some of that money back, because it was gonna do things that the city hasn't been able to do, and
Do we know cities that had the same grant and kept it?
is that?
Michigan
were they-
City,
Michigan City did.
But they didn't keep
my
it?
understanding.
Did their grant get pulled, or yours?
I don't believe so.
Oh, okay, so they had done it more directly rather than through a consultant or something?
Yeah, that's beyond my realm of expertise,
Okay.
but the last I knew, Michigan City kept their
Kept
grant.
theirs, okay.
I heard
They
that
did
too.
something a little bit differently than we
Okay.
did.
They're in a different division too, or different area, different region.
From what I remember, Tucker mentioning, they used a different pass-through grantor, so there was some, they suspect there's some issue with our pass-through. So he was
Hopefully
going
get
to.
it fixed.
Yeah, try to work to get a different pass-through.
Well, and there was discussion around the fact that we had used diversity as, like in trees.
Oh, that
Like
was
a-
that word,
right.
that,
Yeah, I don't know if there's any validity to that, but the fact that we had set a diversity of types of trees, if that impacted it or not, I don't.
right. Oh, my. So that's all I have in the tree realm for today. What we had talked about previously, and just like your thoughts on this about getting the department heads in for interviews, and I just mentioned to Fonda, that it may be, a good first step may be for us to develop 3 or 4, 5 questions and get it to them ahead of time so that they can absorb it and then come to us, because we do meet for just an hour. So maybe give them a little head start so that, just what would your department do in the sustainability realm if you had, what are your top 5, some things that they could do. Zach, you got some?
No, I was just thinking that I can come up with a list of questions to start us off, send that to the group, and hopefully we can talk about it.
That's great, because you could do that, and then we can refine it a little bit, or
Yeah.
comment on it, and then send it to them, so that when we bring them in, the meeting's a little more meaningful, that they've already given some thought to it.
Yep.
So,
I like that idea.
All right, so to clarify, you're going to send out an email with, start us off with maybe 5 to 7 questions and we'll refine it? Okay, I like it.
Good. Thank you.
Sounds good. Yeah, thank you.
The other issue, new business here, is we've got a great big entity coming to town over the next couple of years with the Microsoft facility, and I think it's up, this committee needs to probe into it a little bit. I think the department heads have got some, I'm sure there's some strategy on, how they're gonna use water, how much water they're gonna use, what's the sustainability of the whole thing. So I think that's something I want to do before the next meeting, is see if we can get that information so that we can ask our questions of Microsoft. We have a great water resource here. Right now, it seems to be we're in a bit of a drought. I think we're in an area that's, it's funny because we're the opposite of the southern, the angle from like Evansville up towards the eastern side of the state has had a lot of rain. The community my brother lives in down near Bloomington had 14 inches in April when we had 1.8 inches. So I think it behooves us to find out more about how Microsoft's going to use the water and is it sustainable? Because we do have a great water resources in this area with annual recharge. So I think go in that direction. You got any thoughts? And should we be tough on them? No. Only to a certain point.
Yeah, I mean, I think,
I think they're a little worried about the water this year. It depends on the rain. We haven't had that much, and snow wasn't as much either, even though the lake, we had some ice, but the lakes are a little bit low right now, so see what happens.
Yeah, the April and May showers weren't quite what they
No.
usually are.
Sure was windy, though.
Yeah.
It just seems like when it's coming this way, it just kind of vaporizes, to use that word again. It just seems to dry up when it hits our southern tip of Lake Michigan, so.
So, don't they have to, I mean, they have different methods, right, for the water use,
Definitely.
right? So some of it is recycled water, right?
I think that's the change I heard, that
Right.
the original plan was to use quite a bit more than they're now planning on, which is a good thing. But that's kind of what I'd like to
Yeah,
find
kind of
out.
like a closed system of where they're recycling
Yeah,
the
'cause it's
same water over. and
It's
over.
cooling water, so you'd hope they'd use whatever techniques there are to not just dump and pump, pump and dump it. I mean,
That's what I thought the plan was, to
Yes.
recycle the water.
It's to recycle the water. But because they are using some sort of closed system to recirculate.
right. And if it's coming off of our system there, we've got a big main out there and everything, so it won't generally diminish the supply to anybody out there, but we still want to make sure the resources.
And I know there's some concern about the use of electrical for data centers too. I don't know what their plan is. I don't know the impact for that, but I know there's some concern, like, at the state level about the use of natural resources for data centers. So it's getting more attention.
And I believe that's a concern in many, many, many locations because the power usage is very intense,
Yeah.
so.
Because you have to be able to support the load.
And noise has been a big issue. I think it's a bigger problem with the Bitcoin mining. I guess those places they're not capitalized like Microsoft, and they don't mute the sound too much. I've heard that's a challenge too. So hopefully we don't have that issue with Microsoft. Number one, they're not near too much housing when they're out there, but it's still, you want the environment to be good for everybody, so. Tyler, you have any familiarity with that?
yeah, I mean, the water usage, right, that's connected to the electrical usage. It's all about cooling those big centers. If they're built in a decent structure, they're not going to be loud. They're just
Right.
servers that are running, but does take a ton of electricity to cool. It's a lot of heat that those servers put out. So, yeah, a closed loop.
I think
in the
they've got
system.
some kind of their location that taps into both AEP and NIPSCO. I think there's a partnership there somehow for the power. Is
It would
that-
make sense for them to have, some backup power and, resiliency there in case there's a power outage, because you don't want your data centers to go down.
So let's target that. Maybe hopefully we can get some answers for the next meeting.
Yeah, I don't know who, they submitted a site, I'm sure some plans for
Yeah.
all of that. I haven't,
I'll contact Nick and Jerry and Tim before the next meeting because those guys have probably, they'd be in on that.
sounds good.
You're always welcome. You want to speak?
Okay. The next thing I had on there is add commission officers. Okay, we're structured right now, Zach is the, I was gonna say secretary treasurer, but I don't think we have any money, so he's the secretary. And I'm sitting here in the chair. Is there any desire, does somebody else want to give it a go? Do you want me to keep doing it? I don't know that if I was self-critical, I don't think I've done too well. But should we have a change or an election of officers? Does anybody want to try it?
I think
about
we're
it.
fine, but it's,
It's hard to do some things without money, isn't it? But,
Yeah, I don't see a need to necessarily change officers. I think we could be a little more active, you know,
Okay.
in what we're doing, right? We don't usually have a lot of active agenda items, so maybe, I like getting the department heads in, maybe we take that information and work off that. I think just maybe even a workshop for the group for what our goals are for 2025, 2026. So we can maybe target some things. I know a lot of our focus on 2024 was the trees, and that didn't work out as well as we would have all liked, but we'll see where that goes. Anyway, that would be my only suggestion.
and that's a good, so if anybody has ideas, bring them, you know, on what we should be working on. I think it was pretty sad, as hard as Tucker has worked to get this tree thing going. I was disappointed for the city. I was disappointed for him because he was really fleeced. I mean, really proud of the work he'd done, and it was leading somewhere. So hopefully we can find some money for the trees again, because I know the first iteration was trying to get rid of unsafe trees, and that's still is highly important.
And maybe, Lauren, this might be for you. If you wanted to perhaps unofficially poll city council to see if they've got any goals for this commission or things that they're expecting, that would be helpful too. Like I said, if we could just workshop some ideas and some goal planning for the next 12 months, I think that would be good with council's input and department heads' input, and go from there.
I thought it was discussed a couple meetings ago. I'm sorry. Thought it was discussed a couple meetings ago about maybe looking for new members. I don't know how many this commission holds, but I know that was talked about, not replacement, just
Right. Yeah, it's adding
seeing
to
who's
it maybe.
still interested, and then maybe pulling in new people.
Yeah, I
we
know-
talked about someone from the schools, you know, to possibly get involved, or possibly a college somewhere in the area to help us out, like we started off the internship right off the bat. That would be helpful, getting some, you know, with the schools and getting them involved. We talked about that a while back,
Yeah.
but,
I do
well,
have
the
a
school
couple-
year's over with now, but
Well, it might be just about the right time to do it, because we could do a little planning over this summer and see if we can get some. I do know somebody that works in the science department that might be a good resource, maybe even interested. So that might not be a bad idea to look at. Any other ideas? It's the time that we have to get Ty out of here, Tom, but we're good on that. So looking at the things we're trying to do now would be the letter to the department heads with some heads up on sustainability ideas they can bring back to us. Check in with Tucker on the trees, and look and see if we need some more people, or if it would help, and get this information on Microsoft.
So are there guidelines for the commission about attendance and that sort of thing?
It seemed to be a fairly thin document. I looked back at that one time.
Because, I mean, when you have, I mean, we all are busy, everybody's busy in
Right.
their life, right?
Right.
But if you really can't attend a meeting, like
Yeah, that,
like you want to, if somebody asks you, Todd, do you want to be on the commission? You'd be like, yeah, but then you can
can't never
never.
make it on Tuesdays, can't make
You
it on
know,
Mondays.
you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
right.
So maybe, because without having a full, we never
Right.
have a full commission,
Right.
you know, it does make it hard to get things done.
Yeah, I
I
think,
think that's a little bit of the problem, like you said, like, things don't get achieved, because we're always spinning. It
Yeah.
feels like, well, we
Right.
need this person to talk about this, or they're gonna head this up, and then, and I'm not, this is not critical in any
Right.
way.
No, it's just, it's
Some-
real
I
life.
know everybody's
It's
busy,
real life.
But,
Yeah.
you know, it's a voluntary basis for the city, and if you don't wanna do it, no hard feelings, you know, and we or the mayor can make an attempt of, you know, fill that position with somebody who
So,
has the time.
Fine, I think I remember the, I don't even know what to call them, the documents that outline like how our commission is set up, being posted on our Discord server. I'll look for those. If they're not there, I'll look for them in email.
okay.
But
Yeah, because we all have schedules.
Yeah, and also to Ty's point, I think it'd be helpful, like, we need to pick one or two things to do in a year. And that's what we focus on, because we tend to have a lot of ideas.
Well, there's a,
And they're all great ideas, like you want to do them all, right?
yeah,
But without really focusing on one or two.
even then, without money or authority,
right.
Correct.
we're just the good idea committee.
Well, there's a ton of things in that plan that was
Yeah.
put together. Pick a few, and maybe look at the different areas, because realistically, some things that we can inspire citizens to do, and then some things we can inspire the business community to do, and some things are for government to do.
Right, because I thought at one time there would be a plan that had to be adopted by the council that would be recommended by the commission based on the study that was done. So to me, that would be like one of the number one things to get done if one of our charges is to create a plan for some sort of review or adoption, then we just need, because that'll give us direction. So maybe, like really hone in and find out if that's our charge, and if it is, then we look at that study that was done by the intern and at least get that off our plate.
Yeah, because at one time, remember, that we met so that it was gonna,
Right,
to be final, we had to sign that document, had to go so that it
correct.
could be
So I don't know what the
final.
status,
So I think
I
Nick
don't
would
know what the
know.
status is.
Yeah, I think that was more the sustainability plan, but
It was a
Fonda's
greenhouse
point, I think that it would make sense for us to, this isn't the setting to do it, but a workshop session where we can sit down and really discuss the things in that plan, as well as like what we want to focus on, either in that plan or outside of it, and take that back so that we can report back to council and the mayor, here are our top 3 or 5 things we want to accomplish in the next, 12 months. I think that's a smart idea.
that's a
But I
good
think it
idea.
takes dialogue and some research, and so it's not just a official meeting like this. I think it's a workshop type of a meeting.
And talking with some of the department heads, that'll be a big help also, getting some information from them, what their goals are, what they'd like to see, and we might be able to pick something off, just a little bit off of things that they talk about that we can set our own goals to working towards, to help them out with.
So
But-
the questions should be pretty easy to come up with. Can we go ahead and extend an invitation for our very next
Sure.
meeting?
Sure. Because we should be able to
Someone?
put it together, Zach, we could put that together and then get it out to them, and so we'll, pick a couple of departments to start it.
Yeah,
I would-
I think that was the goal. Last I remember, Tucker, we were, aiming for the June meeting.
Yeah, he was working on, Tucker said he was gonna work on getting a hold of a couple of people, see who could make it or not. But,
Well,
So let's maybe do this as a proposal. Circulate an email so we can all agree to the kind of the preliminary questions, and then maybe over the next 2 months, like a June meeting and July meeting, department heads come in, we have that information, and maybe in August, we have a workshop with all that information, and then we'll also have council's input by then. And does that sound like a timeline that we can make sense?
sure, I think we could put that questionnaire together pretty quickly, and then we could get it out to maybe all of them at the same time, and just say we want to be thinking about it, but we want to bring in a couple per meeting or something. So
Yep.
let's make,
I'm just thinking if we could have a workshop sometime before September, where, as a commission, we can kind of put our plan together and then bring that back in a public forum like this, where it's official, approve it, and then we've got a path.
So can we issue those invitations, so like from the commission standpoint, rather than We don't,
Yeah, I think we can do that simultaneous to putting out the questionnaire. I mean, we can put that together and get it to them and then see if we can get a couple booked for June. That would be June
The next meeting is the 24th.
24th, okay. Let's just move forward on that. Zach, when you want to, we can, if you want to put it together and we can talk and, or I mean, I'll contribute to it.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and have something out to everybody by Wednesday, so.
That'd be great, that'd be great. And just send it to us too, and then if we have some things to.
Oh, I'll send it to you first.
Everybody gets to
Yeah.
get some feedback.
No, I'll have it to you all Wednesday so that we can talk about it.
Awesome. And that way we can move forward with something on the 24th.
Yeah.
That's good progress. There's a ton, if you look back in that was really to do that study was really heavily leaning towards greenhouse gas reduction was the primary, which is obviously an important thing, but we have to have other real things that, like I said, geared towards different sectors and citizens. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think, once again, this is a workshop discussion, but there's sustainable actions, right? But there's also resilient actions. So what do we, as a city, or as a commission, want to recommend for the city to be? I think of us as not just a sustainability commission. I think we're a resiliency commission as well. So just thinking through how to prepare our city for the future, I think is important and should be on an agenda to discuss.
and one of the things I thought about, Ty, is, and maybe you know this, I get the mail and our citizens get the mail about solar on your house. I haven't ever proceeded, or gone farther down the road, but maybe you maybe know how they work this. I don't know, maybe there's somewhere we can do some public education on what really makes sense too, because obviously if we can make free power, that's a good thing, but how do people finance that? How do they, what do they have to do with what are the requirements and everything? So,
Yeah, I will say it's appropriate. I mean, NIPSCO's increased rates quite dramatically in the last month and approved for residential and the city and everyone in between. So that's, I think, the economics of investing in those types of projects is different now than it was even 3 or 4 months ago.
I think we'd all like to have been in the situation where the wastewater department got that, contract for it's 1-for-1. I don't know, what do they give you now if you're generating power? Do you know how that?
Yeah, it's on the power side. It's not your full rate now. Every year, or maybe it's every other year, it increases from a generation cost. So it's like a multiplier. Every year it goes up on anything that you put back on the grid. But yeah, even the cost of what everyone in LaPorte is paying for electricity through NIPSCO's increased significantly in just the last 2 months.
And they're one of the high ones, probably the highest in the state, aren't they? I believe.
Yeah.
Close.
Yeah, that depends on the rate.
I'm on a budget, mine went up $80.
Wow. Who needs that? Well, I think we got some good goals going forward, some things to work on, should keep us busy on our summer vacation. I'll be whatever resource anybody needs on that. I've been working on a project for the water department to try to get a truck, only we've run into the problem. They've got you can't order trucks right now. They've kind of closed off their orders. I think they're not telling you how to price them for next year because they don't know what their parts are going to cost and everything right now, so there's no real good feedback. So, I think we're getting up. How do we get out? Now, we're okay. Yeah. So, well, Ty, we have to get you out of here in a few minutes, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, if there's nothing else, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I have no further items. Do you folks have anything else to contribute?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I'll second that.
meeting is adjourned, and thank you to all that have shown up.